Hi, welcome to the Retirement Railroad. I'm Steve, and it's time for our monthly update. August was an extremely busy month here at the Retirement Railroad. A lot of projects started, some completed, and most of which made a significant improvement in the operation of the railroad. We actually started on phase 2 in the month of July with some of the infrastructure stuff. But in August, we actually got into laying track and wiring up bus lines, actually get it operating. So with that, stay tuned and we'll take a look at it. One of the first things we did was we added that shelf in that upper left picture, and on that shelf we added a photo cell. Okay, like the phase 1 of the Retirement Railroad with all the lighting on a photo cell, so when we turn the room lights off, the building lights, street lights, etc. all come on. The same holds true now with phase 2 of the Retirement Railroad. Alright, so we got that in, we got it up and running. We actually got a couple buildings wired up as well. If we look at the lower left picture, that is underneath the Aurora Eola, E-O-L-A, freight yard. Okay? That's the island that I've talked about in the past, where after I rebuilt it in July, it lifts up and I can get to the all 5 of the bus lines. There's 3 bus lines for the different sections, blocks of track, 1 for the switch machines, and 1 for the lighting accessories. Okay? And you'll also notice down there, there's a new Digitrax BD210, which is a booster for the phase 2 section of the Retirement Railroad. Now, most people say a layout of this size wouldn't require a booster, but when you're running snails or tortoises, those are constant throw stalled motors. So they are always drawing a small amount of amperage. And on phase 1, with all of the switch machines, it draws just over an amp. So with phase 2, I didn't want to add on to that. Plus I wanted a better ability for reversing circuits, etc., and just generally separate out and allow for more locomotives to be running, especially since we consist a lot here. So we have BD210, which is another 5 amp power supply and booster. We also have another BD PM40, excuse me, which is a 4 circuit breaker. So each one of the 4 DCC circuits are on a circuit breaker system. All right. So if we take a look in the lower right-hand picture, those are the isolation switches for the switch yard and the team track. So all of those tracks can be isolated and turned off. So there's even a loco with lights on or whatever is isolated and not drawing power. Should there be a lightning strike or whatever, it just isolates those engines and locomotives and protects them. All right. So along with the PM40, PM42, whatever it is. All right. Let's go to the next set of pictures. In the upper left-hand picture, we have another Loconet throttle plug-in station, so that the person running the freight yard, the old phase 2 freight yard, can plug in right there and without any worries if they don't have a wireless throttle. Right next to it is an alpha meter from DCC Concepts. Now I have another one of those on phase 1. I also wanted one on phase 2 so I could monitor how much power was being drawn off of the BD210 booster. Okay. Now when I designed phase 2, I had the 6-foot section of cabinetry but the sliding glass door over there is a 4-foot section. So that gave me, I actually had 2 feet to play with and still be able to leave a 3-foot aisle from the house out here to the train. So I got one of these corner cabinets that are sliced at 45 on the end, and had put it on casters, rollers, so it will roll out from underneath there as a portable workstation. Okay, as you see there, I have it rolled out. Under normal operating situations, it's rolled back in and under and locked in place. Okay. In the lower left picture, that is that same cabinet and the island cabinet as it goes deeper back in there. And what's behind there is the lift-out section. So the lift-out section stores right behind these cabinets. Between the house and the cabinets, there's about 1 foot of an area that I can use for storage, and it was designed so that I could put this lift-out section there. And you see the lift-out section on the right-hand side. All right. So, and you can see track is laid. So stay tuned. One of the things I wanted to get caught up on was the Aurora passenger platforms. The one closest to you in the upper left-hand picture is part of a lift-out section of a town scene that will be forthcoming. And it's in a precarious position since it overhangs a little bit, and I've knocked that roof off a couple times, so I wanted to protect that. So I added that block of wood under the left-hand section of the platform to help support it. And then you might not even be able to tell, but there's a piece of molded plexiglass, and I say molded because it's been heated on the corner so that it wraps around, and it sticks up about 3/4 of an inch above the roof line of the, or half an inch above the roof line of that platform, so that it cannot easily be hit and damaged again. So that was one of the little projects I did. All right, now if we move over to the right, we'll see that that is the drop-down section. It's on hinges on the far side, and it will drop down. There is a locking bar mechanism underneath it that simply pushes into place and locks that into position, which lines up the tracks perfectly. I'm really happy how that turned out, and it will be even better once I get those tracks ballasted. That also help set the alignment permanently. All right. You can see to the far left, those are the 5 staging tracks. One to represent New York, one to represent LA, one to represent Minneapolis, and 2 to represent Burlington tracks out west of Chicago, leading to Denver or St. Joe, Missouri, Omaha, Nebraska, any of those places. Okay, so that allows me to stage, have 5 trains sitting ready to go that wouldn't otherwise have a place on the railroad, okay? A permanent place on the railroad. So, now if you look to the right, you'll see the icing house and platforms, okay? And I want you to remember this, the retirement railroad takes place in the mid-60s, okay? Icing, icebox reefers, which had bunkers on the ends, but big blocks of ice would be loaded into to maintain cool temperatures during transport. These were still being used up until about 1970, but they were being phased out throughout the 60s. So, although I need a couple more platforms, you know, this is small, much smaller than what it would have been in the heyday of the 30s, 40s, 50s. Okay, as these mechanical reefers came online during the 60s. Okay. Now, a couple other projects I completed was putting the power bus line in for the auxiliary or for the lighting, and which allowed for the lighting of not only the ice house and platforms in the lower left, but also the Hoffa cement plant. I did a tip of the day on that earlier in August, and how I restored, kit bashed that to be able to fit on the particular location on the layout. But it's now lit in place, and you can see on the lower right the brick panel, or not brick, concrete block panel, and that is simply cardstock that concrete block graphics have been printed out onto, and that cardstock will be added to some foam board and put in place on that wall there between each one of the buildings that will go on that team track right there. All right, so let's take a look. And we move over here and you get a better look at the island. In general, you got 5 team tracks to the right. You can see the pictures of some of the industries I've yet to purchase and build. A brewery, a flour mill. I have the cold storage facility purchased. I haven't built it yet. And I still have room for 1 or 2 more to go on that team track. Okay, you can see some of the freight yards. You've got the 3-track main line. You've got a arrival departure track. You have a runaround track. You have a couple classification tracks. And down on the lower right are the 3 lines going back to the icing platform. All right. Phase 2 consisted of 22 turnouts. Okay. 12 of which have been wired up with SMAIL DCC switch machines, programmed and fully operational. I still have 10 more to obtain and get wired in. And then that will make phase 2 fully operational and functional and fully operational. All right, so been having fun testing the tracks. On the lift out section will be another industry, a grocery distribution center, so that I've tried to tailor my businesses not only to what existed or was representative of the day on the western suburbs of Chicago, but what would also add to some good operations and switching where one industry feeds off of another, etc. And so it should turn out to be pretty good. All right. So stay tuned. All right. So there you have it with our updates. You know, some other minor stuff went on, but those are the major updates, and you get a feel for everything that's going on. So now let's watch some trains, shall we? And this month, a little different. Our train of the month is a coal drag. What a lot of people don't realize is Illinois, back in the pre-EPA era, was a huge coal-producing state. Okay? And from strip mining and underground mining. So the Burlington, like every other railroad, one of the major sources of revenue was hauling that coal. So let's watch, see if they're coming around over phase 2 right now, and we'll follow it around the layout. All right, so there you have it. Our August update and all of our progress. You got to see the Burlington Coal Drag from the coal fields of Illinois. And I threw in there another one of Chicago landmarks, so to speak, and that's the bi-level commuter cars, or as the Burlington employees called them, they called them the dinkies, because they were relatively small trains compared to the Zephyrs and freights that ran up and down the line. So, with that, I want to thank you for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad. Again, I'm Steve, and y'all have a great day. Bye now.